Lament, for the light had forgotten us. My eyes grew heavy, though their burden was neither the approaching night nor my restless endeavours. They merely refused their duty to keep on seeing. Such a precious duty, but wrongly pursued by none other than me. Trust me, I've seen enough, at least for today, or for a while to come. I let myself descend into a dreamless rest, into a state of unconsciousness. But I was being deceived. Night after night, it failed to refresh my aching senses. They piled up one atop the other until I gave up on hoping for salvation to be found in that ambiguous realm. Now, I had to look elsewhere, stay on the move. In a daze, I packed whatever I could get my hands on and left that cursed place behind. I strayed far from all I considered familiar, beyond the borders of man and the chains of my memory, into a territory uncharted. Never have I understood why they fear the forest, itself a most caring habitat. The rain that guided my path of absence as if mourning it was now held back by a thick and lush canopy. Its drops transformed into a wet mist that could transcend the air and infuse the ground to birth its dormant scent. I felt drunk on its cleansing and renewing ritual over what exists below the sky, drunk on its sacramental redemption. Only the dense sound of rain, beating against the foliage which muffled it in parts, could guide me now. Thunders were chasing me deeper into the sheltering embrace of the forest. Branches kept breaking under the weight of my heavy soles, while the reinforced part of my boots kept getting carelessly tangled in the ivy that covered the ground below my feet. I should have lifted them higher off the ground, but I lacked all strength to do so. Thoughts of my long-forgotten years led me back to it. Ivy is parasitic in nature. My father used to tell me, never fear being stranded there where the ivy grows, for its presence means nutritious earth and flourishing life it can latch onto. That what keeps the ivy alive will also keep me alive. Indeed, that lush web seems to have spread everywhere here, even creeping up the trees all around me. I gently glided my fingers over the waxy surface of those tiny leaves. Their tips entwined with what they felt, a sensation bottled up in a single fragment of remembrance. A shiver of memory appeared, but just as soon it escaped my thoughts. I advanced deeper still, to where the thickness of the canopy above me allowed not a single drop to reach beneath it. There, sheltered and tired as I was, I lay down at the roots of a secular pine. Sleep followed soon after. Then I awoke among the same darkness that cradled me before I'd fallen into oblivion. Strange. Was it night? Or was the foliage indeed so tight that not a single ray of light was allowed to touch the ground? I wanted to stand up and look around me for an answer. But I felt my left side, wrist and ankle, gently restrained. A few sprouts of ivy had grown and entangled me whilst asleep, mistaking my limbs for the roots on which I had laid. Was I asleep for so long, or was the ivy growing wildly in this forest? Had I dreamt of rain, or indeed it rained through night and day? I carefully plucked them from around my body. This forest was curiously calm, devoid of fauna once typical in these parts of land. How canny. For a split second, I felt mournful, though to return was not an option, for there was nothing left to return to. No redemption, no solace. They all perished whence I came. I refused to perish myself. So I pushed onward until reaching the edge of a glade, which indeed proved neither of my assumptions were completely accurate as I approached it. The hour was indiscernible, for there was no sun showing itself behind the dense clouds that gathered ominously, spread over an entire horizon. The more I looked, the more at rest they seemed, until, from the corner of my eye, a shadow moved at a strangely fast pace. Looking over in its direction, there was nothing to be seen alive. No. Wait. There, on the other side of the glade. I was sure to have seen the shadows rustling about. I shouted but received no answer. Still, I ran after them, out of the forest shelter and across an open glade, its grass brushing against my thighs until reaching the other side. The same dense forest around me spread such darkness that even if there were shadows of life anywhere, they were suffocating on it. There was no way to tell the one apart from the other. Unless... I stood there, still for a moment, until my surroundings got gradually exposed. All but one patch that remained a pitch-black veil. Growing from the void, a towering tree was leaning towards me, its ancient branches flowing over my shoulders. It was a splintered rock with aspirations of a mountain, resembling a waterfall, had its water dried out when the willow had sprouted. It opened up into a cave, superfluously ornate with large ivy leaves that covered it up to the spreading roots. Where would it take its nutrients from? Deserted stone? Most curious thing. I stood before the cave for a long time, yet my eyes had not adjusted like before. It was that same shade of guarding darkness. Should I have dared enter it? Perchance not. Still, I did, in search of whatever secrets this forest would want to keep away from me. Its impenetrable darkness and steady temperature offered me no sensation whatsoever. I felt as if suspended in a perfectly forged environment, or an oblivion parallel to life. The darkness wouldn't budge. Disappointed, after pacing up and down in spite of the branch's wail, I turned around towards the forest. On the cusp between realms, my vision could deceive me no longer. Accustomed to that absolute darkness, I saw the forest clearly. My visual field enlarged to reveal there were indeed shadows enlivening that dead realm. The shadows of all I had expected to find alive. Shadows, no longer attached to their bones, crumbling beneath my feet.